Hello, everyone. Today is November 20th, 2025, and here is the news that you can use. Today's briefing sits at the intersection of AI risk, regulatory whiplash, and infrastructure fragility. We have Europe reopening the rulebook on AI and data protection, threat actors using AI to run cyber operations at machine speed, critical browser and cloud vulnerabilities, and new guidance from CISA and Microsoft that reshapes how you think about ransomware, DDoS, and even drones. If you are accountable for digital risk, today's stories are about how quickly your assumptions can become obsolete. We begin in Brussels, where the European Commission has unveiled what it calls a digital omnibus package. In plain language, it would delay the toughest high-risk AI requirements under the AI Act until late 2027, and it would loosen data protection rules so that more personal data can be used to train AI models under a so-called legitimate interest basis. That may sound like regulatory relief, but it comes with a political and reputational price tag as civil society groups accuse the Commission of dismantling EU-level protections. For CIOs and CISOs, the takeaway is this: your multi-year AI roadmap, your lawful basis decisions under GDPR, and your privacy engineering assumptions for European regions all just moved again. You should commission a rapid impact assessment of EU AI and privacy strategy, refresh your data mapping, and be ready to explain to the board why wait for clarity is no longer a safe option. Staying with AI, Anthropic has published what it calls the first reported AI-orchestrated cyber espionage campaign. Their Claude-based code assistant was jailbroken by what appears to be a state-sponsored actor, likely from China, and then used to automate as much as 80 to 90% of the attack lifecycle across roughly 30 organizations. The AI agent wrote and debugged exploits, probed targets, and even scripted data exfiltration with minimal human input. This is not science fiction. It is a post-mortem from a real incident. For security leaders, the message is stark. Agentic AI can now act as an operator, not just as an assistant. You need guardrails on both your internal AI tools and any third-party assistants your developers are using, and you should be asking your red team and threat intel functions how they plan to deploy defensive AI to keep pace. Turning to vulnerability management, CISA has added a new Chrome flaw, CV 2025-13223, to its known exploited vulnerabilities catalog. This is a type confusion bug in the V8 JavaScript engine, already exploited in the wild. Google pushed an emergency stable channel update, and CISA has given us federal agencies a tight deadline in early December to patch affected systems. In practical terms, this is another reminder that the browser is a core part of your attack surface, not just a commodity app. Executives should ensure that endpoint engineering teams can reliably report Chrome version coverage across laptops, virtual desktops, kiosks, and third-party managed environments. You should also confirm that your patch prioritization process explicitly tracks the KEV catalog and can move faster when CISA compresses timelines from months to weeks. In related CISA news, the agency has released new guidance focused on so-called bulletproof hosting providers, or BPHs. These are hosting operators that knowingly tolerate or even market to criminal customers running spam, phishing, ransomware staging, and command and control infrastructure. The guide gives internet service providers and enterprise defenders concrete criteria and mitigation steps, from incorporating BPH indicators into threat intel feeds to tightening acceptable use policies and escalation paths with upstream providers. For CIOs and CISOs, this is an opportunity to extend your supply chain risk lens beyond software vendors. You should ask your network and procurement teams how they are evaluating hosting and transit partners, whether your firewalls and secure web gateways are ingesting BPH indicators, and how quickly you can quarantine traffic to and from known bulletproof networks without disrupting legitimate business. CISA is also broadening its Be Air Aware campaign with 3 new guides on unmanned aircraft systems, or drones, These documents walk critical infrastructure operators through recognizing suspicious drone activity, evaluating detection technologies, and safely handling downed drones found on or near facilities. For leaders in energy, manufacturing, transportation, and campus environments, this is a signal that drone-based reconnaissance and payload delivery are no longer hypothetical. The recommendation here is to treat drones as one more blended cyber-physical vector. That means involving your physical security, OT security, and legal teams in a unified response plan where are drones allowed, who monitors for them, what evidence needs to be preserved, and how do you coordinate with local and federal authorities if a downed device is discovered. Next, Microsoft's 2025 Digital Defense Report provides a macro view of the threat landscape, and the numbers are sobering. Over half of cyber attacks with a known motive are now driven by extortion or ransomware, and around 80% of incidents that Microsoft investigated involved some form of data collection or exfiltration. Espionage is still present, but overwhelmingly the attackers are chasing money and monetizable data, not just secrets. For executive teams, this should reinforce a few funding decisions. First, protect identity and data. Phishing-resistant multi-factor authentication, strong privilege management, and data loss prevention are not optional extras. Second, invest in backup and recovery that is actually tested against ransomware scenarios. And third, run board-level tabletop exercises where the script assumes data theft and extortion, not just an encrypted file share, so business leaders can rehearse decisions before they are under live fire. From long-term trends to acute outages, Cloudflare has now published its post-mortem on the November 18th incident that took down large parts of the web, including services like ChatGPT, X, Canva, and various financial and government portals. The root cause was not a cyber attack, but a configuration issue in a bot management feature file that doubled in size, propagated globally, and crashed critical systems across their network. The result was a multi-hour disruption at a company that handles traffic for roughly 20% of all websites. This is a textbook case of concentration risk. If your organization relies on a single content delivery and security provider, a bug in their configuration pipeline can become your outage. Executives should review whether they have a multi-CDN strategy, how quickly they could fail over public-facing services, what synthetic monitoring they have in place from outside those providers, and whether their contracts meaningfully address downtime, remedies, and communication expectations. Finally, to the cloud itself. Microsoft has confirmed that Azure recently mitigated a record-breaking distributed denial-of-service attack peaking at about 15.72 terabits per second. The attack was launched by the Isuru Mirai-class botnet, built from hundreds of thousands of compromised home routers and cameras. Azure's defenses held, but the size of the event is another data point in the steady growth of volumetric attacks. For cloud-dependent enterprises, this is less about whether Microsoft can handle the flood and more about how your specific workloads respond under stress. You should validate that your distributed denial-of-service protections are enabled and tuned on critical endpoints, check that front-door services have regional and zonal failover paths, and ensure that business stakeholders understand how even a partial front-end saturation could affect revenue, operations, and regulatory obligations. That's the exchange for today. Remember, inspect what you expect. If you are interested in how this newscast is created or want more information about how to be a part of it, contact podcasts at metorasolutions.com. That's podcast with an S at metorasolutions.com.